Welcome to Mana TV and TV5. You are watching Insight with Praveen Puram live from Atlanta. First of all, to all my viewers, I would like to say Happy Ganesh Chavati, especially in US, all my friends, and belated Ganesh Chavati to all my friends in UK and also in India. Today is the auspicious day, and I am sure that you all have enjoyed. And thank you to our esteemed guest, Devyani Vaishampayan, who is from London today. Thank you so much, Devyani ji. Before we get into the show, we just wanted to tell the viewers what the topic is all about today. Today, we are going to talk about, can you use AI for the people management? This is the I think top-notch issue all the companies are facing today. So it will be very, very interesting today to know from you. So before we start, I would like to introduce Devyani. Devyani is the CEO of HR Tech Partnership, which is an AI-based innovation and investment venture around the digitalization. She's a non-executive director at the British Quality Foundation, the Law Society, and a board member with a critical eye, helping CEOs and senior executives to deal with the future of work. She is currently chair of London Tech London Advocates. Prior to this, she has been a group HR director for many of the esteemed organizations like BSI, Rolls-Royce, British Gas, AT&T, and Citibank, PwC. Devyani has been featured in 2020 as an Asian Women Leader list and the 2017 Financial Times Ethnic Minority Leader list, and in 2016 FTSE 100 Women to Watch. Devyani holds a degree in physics and electronics, an MBA, an advanced MBA. She's also trained for behavioral scientist. As a behavioral scientist, she is considered to be a thought leader in the future of work and is a regular speaker at global forums. Wow, what a wonderful profile, Devyani ji. Thank you so much for being the host for this particular episode. And first of all, happy Ganesh Chaturthi to you as well. So this Insight with Praveen Puram has been a great platform for all the NRI friends to learn from the great leaders, inspirational, whatever the achievements the NRIs do. So as a part of this, today we wanted to know more about the workforce, right? During this pandemic, the work culture has been completely changed, right? So people are confused. What will be the work in the future, workspace in the future? How are we going to work? So there are a lot of emotions, there are a lot of problems, there are a lot of issues, and people are mixed with the hybrid workspace. So today we will definitely discuss more about this topic. So before that, Devyani ji, tell us more about this future tech company. So what you hold? Tell us more about what is future tech.
HR Tech Partnership.
Future tech, sorry.
So I guess as you've seen, my background is I've had a 30-year career doing senior HR roles. So what I understand very well is workforce management in large international complex organizations. And the venture that I set up 3 years ago, we do two things. One is we have an angel investment fund, which invests in AI-based HR tech startups. But the interesting thing is all my investors are senior HR directors. So the philosophy is very much to have domain experts as investors. And that's quite unique. The second thing we do is we run a human capital digital innovation hub. And that helps corporates experiment and try an AI-based HR solution around people management. And we'll talk a little more about, I'm sure, over the next 30 minutes about how these solutions are useful, but also how people still have some apprehension and fear about using it. So the pilot program is definitely useful in supporting them around it.
Awesome. Great initiative, especially I could see in the HR world. So you have been running a lot of initiatives for the startups, and you have been the investors. So from your experience, how has the pandemic changed the workspace? What do you see?
Well, I think you referred to it. I think this has been one of the biggest catalysts for change. And what started off as a bit of a panic in terms of people being forced to be at home, I would say there have been three important changes that have happened. The first is remote work is here to stay. Now, it's not going to be a situation like the pandemic where people are forced to be or have to work from home all the time, but there's no way you're going to have people coming back to office 5 days a week. So a hybrid workplace, which was perhaps talked about a little, is now going to be the norm for almost every business or large or organization across the world, and not just in any particular country. I think the second big change that the pandemic has caused is really a lot more familiarity with digital. Now, again, technology is not new, it's always been around, but it's always been treated as something that has to be used when you need to use it, whereas now it's a big part of our lives. So, I play bridge, and during the pandemic, the lessons quickly moved online. I have to tell you, the average age of my class is about 70 plus, because bridge is still considered, I think, a game for the older people. But what was really interesting to see is even these older folks, and some of them didn't even own a mobile phone, the way they took to online classes, playing online, looking at results online. So I think digital now is a big part of life, of our everyday lives, but particularly the workplace now. Digital will play a far bigger role than it has in the past. And then the third thing I think that has happened because of the pandemic is the whole balance of power between employers and employees. It was very clear earlier that flexibility, work from home, or even otherwise, employers still had the power. They decided, and it was, if they made allowed, it was because they allowed employees to do it. Today, I think the reverse is happening. Today, it's employees who are deciding whether they want to go back to work, where they want to work. And that's a very interesting shift of dynamics. So I would say that there have been quite a few changes, but I see these as three big changes that are happening at the workplace.
Absolutely, Devyani. Absolutely. You could see, irrespective of age, everyone has to adopt digital world to survive, to sustain. You have rightly said. No matter who are there, whether they are from different domains like doctors or HRs or technical. Typically, our mindset is who are very technical, they go into all these kinds of technical aspects. But now, pandemic has forced everyone to do. Secondly, you have rightly said the employees are deciding what will be the workspace, right? So many of during this transformation or translation, everyone has challenges. It may be technical challenges, it may be work challenge, it may be personal challenge. So based on these three, what would you think it will win in the next coming 1-2 years? What would be the hybrid model looks like?
So I think, as I said, I don't see it as an either or situation. I think there still could be maybe 10% of organizations who are at the extreme end. And we've seen a lot of the big technology companies, a few of them have said, Twitter, for example, has said everybody can work from home all the time. Equally, I think Goldman Sachs is saying, no, everybody has to be come back to the office. But I think these are a bit of outliers. I think the majority of organizations are going to be practical and say that we need to provide both. And they're still figuring their way out. I don't think we are at a stage where most organizations know exactly how they're going to be now having, what a hybrid workplace is going to look like. But I think what is very evident is they are considering a mix. They are definitely looking at asking the employee to choose rather than mandating things. They are also having to look very clearly at policies and processes, because it's not just, it's a completely different ball game now. And to do it well, you have to consider, it's not just about office space, which again, it was the immediate reaction to say, do we need this office space? And people are trying to look at cost savings around that. But apart from that, what are the policies we need? How do we support employees? And most importantly, also, how do we support managers and leaders? And which, again, is the key focus of what we do. Supporting employees and supporting leaders and managers is something that a lot of organizations are looking very carefully at.
Right. Excellent. So definitely we'll touch upon a few of the policies definitely most might be looking for. Before that, Along with the digitalization, you hear AI was a buzzword earlier, but now it's reality, right?
Mhm.
Any of the software, any of the domain, any of the industry, AI is going to play a role. AI, ML, data science. It's all data, right? So when you talk about this pandemic, everything is about people management, right? The technology remained the same, the business remained the same, the domain remained the same, only digitalization and also the about how people, how we need to retain the talent, entertain the talent, be in touch constantly with the talent. So where do you see this AI being used in the people management today?
Yeah, so I think, Praveen, you made a very relevant point that AI, ML has been talked about for some time, but it's also slowly becoming a big part of everyday lives. You know, whether you are driving a car, whether you are watching Netflix, whether you listen to Alexa, I mean, all that is AI, ML. Right? Now, when it comes to HR and the workplace, again, technology is not new. You know, we've got big systems, whether it's a Oracle, Workday, SAP, but even otherwise, I think for talent acquisition, recruitment, payroll, I mean, IT has been used extensively. The difference now is these AI and digital solutions are capable of really focusing on the softer aspects of people management. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say, particularly given a hybrid workplace now, you have teams that are working remotely. Earlier, the manager could sit with the team. So, whether it was giving feedback, whether it was coaching, whether it was mentoring, whether it was figuring out where something was wrong, if the employee was looking disengaged, all that was done face to face. Performance management, today, it's not going to be possible. Yes, I'm not saying it's going to go away completely, but to rely on face to face is no longer, it's going to be very risky. And where these solutions are coming in is firstly is to help at the first level. So by connecting, by using solutions that can help, at least in the first instance, that is done via the solution. But it also then provides, helps the managers understand, is there a risk happening? Do I need to intervene? So I guess the point is, again, they are there to augment and help the manager do what they would have traditionally done face to face. Now, apart from that, I think what the solutions also do very well because of the AI MI aspect is predictive analytics. And particularly in areas like talent acquisition,
Mhm.
it's getting now far easier to source candidates. So, right from screening CVs, removing bias, because again, you have solutions that can redact personal information, whether it is the candidate engagement process, so via a bot who keeps the candidate engaged. So the same talent acquisition process now is a very different experience for the candidate, but can also make sure that the candidate, then the right candidate, is sourced in a very speedy manner. So these are some examples of how AI and ML solutions are increasingly getting more widespread around people management.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said that these are the advantages of having AI over the regular tech. Definitely, you could see that difference. But more as you go, you will get more data to every manager, what they are doing, how things are going in the, especially in the talent acquisition. So when you say talent acquisition, right now there is a bubble, right? Especially on the getting the employees is very tough. Hiring the right talent is very tough. So before we move on to the other topics, I would say in your solutions, I saw that there are in HR solution itself in last year, there are 350 new startups have come up on the HR tech, right? So can you tell us what will be a good solution for all of us in the talent acquisition, which would be beneficial?
That's that's a very difficult question. Now, I think firstly, as you said, you know, there are lots of solutions coming onto the market, but equally, for any solution to be successful, you have to be very clear what is the problem you're trying to achieve. And
Mhm.
so it is not so much about fancy tech. It is not so much about data, but it is also about understanding, you know, what is the problem. So even within talent acquisition, as I said, where we are seeing hot areas in that sense, or a lot more interest is, how do you remove bias in recruitment? Because clearly That is a lot of there's a lot of concern that, are we fishing into the same pond? Are we do managers have their own biases when they're recruiting like for like? How do you create a more diverse workforce? And the first step is always talent acquisition recruitment. So how do you reduce bias? How assessment is another big one, because again, it's difficult to find people, but also more often than not, people leave because they find it's not the right culture fit for them. The values don't match. So I think assessment is another process where we're seeing a lot of innovative solutions. Virtual onboarding is getting very, very important. I think a lot of candidates are joining, they don't step into the office. And if that process is not engaging enough, you're going to lose, ultimately they'll get snatched by someone else. Virtual onboarding is another hot area. But otherwise, I think organizations clearly are still under a lot of pressure to reduce costs, to improve speed. So any talent acquisition solution that can help you do that is always going to be a winner there.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. Because now anyone coming on board is totally new. You don't even see him, but it should be seamlessly integrated into the system and seamlessly engaged with them to retain. So you are absolutely said. So definitely we'll be more interested to know if you have a right solution for the talent acquisition from 360 degrees. Please do let us know. Most of our viewers from US, UK, in India, they will be very much interested because you have been in this field. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but you will be the right person to answer. So that's where I came from. Thank you so much again.